Hello and welcome to World Talks. My name is Kazimierz Łysiak. We are here in Tromsø, Norway at the Arctic Frontiers Conference. And now to talk about another type of frontier, the final frontier, I am joined by Geraldine Naja, the Director of Commercialization, Industry and Competitiveness at the European Space Agency. Director Naja, welcome to TVP World.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be with you.
Thank you for agreeing to speak with us. Now, before we move on to any other topic, I guess we need to start with the big one, the Artemis 2 mission, manned mission to the moon. This time, they won't be landing on the moon itself. They will be circling behind the moon, coming back. It's a prelude to Artemis 3, which will put humans on the moon again for the first time since the 1970s. Can you tell me, because we've heard recently that this mission has been moved from February to March, is there some cause of concern or is that just standard procedure?
No, it's a standard procedure. I don't think there is any cause for concern, even if I'm not directly involved in this mission. Space is a risky business, and you want to make sure when you have people on board that you have the maximum security. So most of the time, a small delay like 1 month is just to make sure that nothing happened, that we have checked everything. So I wouldn't be too concerned.
Great. Now, when we talk about Artemis 2, the European Space Agency is heavily involved. I think that's fair to say. I mean, the ESA is providing the critical service module for the Orion capsule. That means propulsion, power, oxygen for the capsule. So is it fair to say that Europe is now an essential part of NASA operations?
Yes, it is absolutely true, but it is also fair to say that we were, and we are still, a very important partner in the International Space Station, so which was, let's say, initiated by NASA, but where we have, even today, Europe, Russia, Japan, Canada on board. So, by the way, space is still one of the places where you continue to work together despite the overall environment. I think it's important to remember that. So already for the International Space Station, we had something called the Automated Transfer Vehicle, which was used to, let's say, push back the station to its orbit to make sure that it doesn't fall down on Earth, kind of. So already then we were doing that. The ESM, in a way, is the European Service Module, is the continuation of that cooperation on the ISS.
Now, you touched upon quite an interesting topic when it comes to space. You said that it is an area where all these countries are cooperating despite, we could say, very high tensions here on the ground. And I guess the Arctic is kind of similar, or used to be similar in that regard, but we are seeing this tension return to the Arctic now. Do you think that there is some tension possibly to return to space as well?
I hope not. I really hope not. What we have seen is during the Cold War, the Apollo-Soyuz mission in 1975. Then when the Berlin Wall broke down and let's say the East opened up and so on, we saw the creation of the International Space Station. Now we have the Artemis. Of course, we also see that China has become a very large space power, is having its own space station. I'm still a believer in cooperation, and I hope there comes a time, for instance, if we ever go to Mars with a human mission, that this can be a global endeavor, but maybe that's my optimism.
Now, space has also recently become quite important when it comes to security. We are talking about satellites, for example, so ways to monitor the activities of, let's say, the enemy. Do you see any sort of change in approach to Russia specifically when it comes to space operations? Is there less trust now in these operations?
You know, that space would be, let's say, a tool for security and defense, because of course we use space means for security and defense on Earth to observe, to monitor, to communicate, to navigate, etc. This has been going on for a long time. Now I believe you are talking of whether space, the space environment, is itself becoming a territory of let's say, unfriendly activities. We know that there have been some cyber attacks on certain satellites. We know that there is now the possibility to, get closer to some satellites. But there again, I think for the time being, it is not something to be really worried about. Of course, cybersecurity is a very critical, let's say, issue, yes. And we are all, be it in industry, in space agencies, etc., we are all confronted to this kind of issue. But we are working on it, of course, and we are making sure that our infrastructure remains protected.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to touch a little bit on what you are doing. I mean, you're the director of commercialization, and,
Yes.
and there is a lot of discussions surrounding space. And I've had these discussions with even some of my colleagues in the newsroom. I mean, I'm interested in space myself personally, but I've heard many people say, why should we care? I mean, we have so many problems here on the ground, on Earth. We have these tensions, we have the war in Ukraine, all these things that we should be occupied with. Can you tell me and our viewers, why should we care about space?
We should care about space because the future of Earth itself is depending on how we use space. Because of course I mentioned space for security, and this goes for all the countries, but it's not only security against each other. It's also, for instance, security from the potential threats from space, such as debris, meteoroids, solar flares. So already space helps us defend our planet against this kind of threats. Most importantly, space is the unique way to monitor Earth and to monitor its environment. There are, I think, some 50 plus essential climate variables. More than half of them can only be measured from space, because from space you get a global view and you can see the evolution. You see the evolution of pollution, of deforestation, and you can also see where it comes from. You can identify. So space is essential to monitor climate change and environment.
Right, but these are big, big issues, right? And
yes.
So can we scale down a little bit? I mean, how is space affecting directly our everyday lives?
I can tell you, in a normal day, you use about 40 satellites. You don't know about it, but you do. If you have a smartphone, you use satellites to position yourself or to make itineraries. So you use that. You also check on the weather. You want to know how to get dressed in the morning or whatever. This comes from satellites. Of course, you call people, but you also perhaps download some TV or series or whatever. All this, you need space to do it. So in our daily lives, space is everywhere, but most people don't know about it.
So when we talk about satellites, I mean, we've seen an uptick, I would say, in interest in satellites in Europe, especially in Poland. We launched, our own satellites recently, military satellites, but we are now planning this big national satellite. Can you tell me, because I've heard about this project IRIS-2, which would be a counter, I guess, to Starlink's, Elon Musk's internet satellites. Is that something that we could see happen earlier? Because the Defense and Space Commissioner, Andrius Kubilius, European Commissioner, said that he would like to see that happen by 2029 because of security, because of the war in Ukraine. Do you think that this can happen earlier?
I think we can provide early services with IRIS. It's called IRIS Square. We say IRIS.
It's not IRIS-2, it's IRIS Square. Sorry,
but
my
it's
bad.
okay. Its objective is to provide secure connectivity to Europe. And by the way, it's an EU project, but supported and somewhat implemented by ESA as a technical agency working for the EU. So IRIS Square is very important now because of, as you say, the geopolitical context. And
that
it's
would
not
give us
meant,
independence, right? Because
yes,
now we have to rely on technology from the United States.
It's not meant as a competition with Starlink. It's meant as bringing autonomy and sovereignty to Europe in a very difficult context. And you mentioned also the Polish national satellites, and we are very happy to see Poland becoming an important space actor in Europe. But also I can say in the last meeting of European space ministers last November, Poland, which is a member state of ESA since 11 years now.
You've had an astronaut as well
yes,
for the first time
absolutely.
since
You flew an astronaut, and you also contributed quite significantly to the future European ESA programs. So we're very happy, and we could see also a keen interest of Poland in what we have as a new program at ESA called European Resilience from Space, ERS, and where Poland will participate.
And you beat me to that question, because I wanted to ask you exactly about that. $1.5 billion allocated to this European resilience from space. Can you tell us a little bit more what this would mean specifically in the future? What can we expect from this program? I mean, that's quite a lot of money.
Yes. I think what we can expect is that Europe will at last be able to close the gap with the other space powers, because Europe has always considered space as mostly a civilian, let's say, activity geared towards science, towards cooperation, etc. But the other space powers, be it the USA or Russia or China, use space for defense and security. So I think we are closing this gap by recognizing that we also are a power, and we need to have autonomy, sovereignty in our means, and especially in the space means that are needed for defense and security. We already have Galileo for navigation. We will have IRIS², and the ERS program is considered to be a kind of system, an overall system of systems, where we will be able to, let's say, integrate Earth observation data, communications, positioning and navigation information towards a series of services that are needed to help defense and security in Europe. And we will also be able to use, by the way, hopefully, the national means, because we don't mean to say we duplicate what is done at national level. The idea is to be, let's say, coherent and coordinated also with what exists at national level.
Right. Thank you very much for speaking with us tonight.
Thank you.
This was Geraldine Naja, the Director for Commercialization, Industry and Competitiveness at the European Space Agency. My name is Kazimierz Łysiak. Thank you for watching Well Talks.